another episode of the Power Podcast. Tonight we're going to talk about Brock Lesnar and the Randy Orton issue from SummerSlam 2016. And we're also going to talk about the Seth Rollins turnbuckle powerbomb issue that people have been talking about. So let's jump right into it. Now, what really did happen at SummerSlam? Does anybody honestly really know what's happened? If you watch the pay-per-view, at the end of the Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar match, Brock did deliver a couple solid elbows to Randy Orton's head. And we all thought, he bladed because he put his head down and then there was blood. But when you see pictures of it online, it's definitely not a blade job. Or if it is, it was a hell of a sloppy one because it's more of a triangle zigzag kind of looking thing. It's not your normal blade cut. It's definitely odd-shaped looking. So it looks like and if you look at there's footage, freeze frame footage of the elbow connecting to the skull. So he did clock him one. Did he previously blade to that, then got a head shot with the elbow and made it worse? Who knows? It's almost like Brock thought he was still in the UFC the way he was hitting him. Now, just a couple things now. It has been announced that the UFC has a temporary suspension on Brock Lesnar, possibly 2 years, with some saying it could be shorter, depending. If he's going to be a big draw, I'm pretty sure they'll get him out of his suspension. He did test positive for hydroxy, I'm going to say this wrong, clomiphene. Essentially what it is, it's an anti-estrogen agent. So it has something to do with leveling out levels if you're on steroids from what I've read. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not a doctor. A lot of people are asking, will the WWE follow suit and suspend him for now that it's been confirmed he has tested positive for doping. Now, will the WWE suspend him? They have said they won't because he's considered a part-time employee, which has kind of rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, especially since you've just suspended Roman Reigns for 30 days and he's back. Now, Alberto Del Rio, Paige, and Eva Marie, they're gone for 30 days, and we don't know what their drug was that they failed with. So, it's kind of playing favorites because he's a bigger draw than the rest of them. He gets a pass. It's not really, to be honest with you, that's not fair to the other guys on the roster, especially when they're working their asses off day in and day out. And if they screw up, then when he screws up, why doesn't he get punished the same way? So there is some favoritism there somewhere. He's probably one of Vince's favorites because he's a big guy. So now, according to the Inquisitor.com, they suggest, or actually they say it in their article, if you go to their article on the Inquisitor.com, that the head bust was not planned. But the TKO ending, the technical knockout, and Shane McMahon getting F5'd was planned. But they're saying that their article is a little bit not clear. It kind of says, well, there wasn't supposed to be that much blood. And then later on in the article it says it wasn't planned at all. Now, you also go to HollywoodLife.com, and they're also saying that, Stephanie issued a $500 fine. Now, I felt the fine is a work. As Stephanie said, there'll be consequences on Raw, and then Shane on SmackDown goes, oh, she only gave him a $500 fine. Okay, I don't think Stephanie McMahon is the one that issues fines. Somebody else in corporate probably does that. Keeps the McMahons out of the way of any backlash from the wrestler themselves. I think it's a work. If you watch SmackDown, Shane's like, oh, a $500 fine. Stephanie doesn't take this serious, and I think it's a work. It's a storyline, and I think it's leading up to a Shane McMahon and Brock Lesnar match somewhere down the line. Hey, Shane got his ass whooped by Undertaker. Why not get a bunch of suplexes from Brock Lesnar? So, now, like I said, we don't know 100% sure what is what. I don't know what story, what is not. Did Brock maybe accidentally clock him? I don't know. There's so many conflicting stories. Like I said, I've got this one from the Inquisitor. I got this one from HollywoodLife.com, which covers a lot of wrestling. And then there's the Dave Meltzer from the What is Dave Meltzer's? I think he's the Wrestling Insider. Yes, he is. Okay, so I'm just going to quote something from Dave Meltzer's website, the Wrestling Insider. Now, what he's saying is, according to multiple sources, Jericho came to the gorilla position just as the match ended, apparently just to see if Orton was okay and to find out what exactly happened. He asked Michael Hayes what the finish was, or if that was the finish. Now, Hayes wouldn't answer him, at which point Jericho said, "That's bullshit." Jericho had just said that, then Lesnar had just come in from the back from the ring. Lesnar thought he was talking about his match and called Jericho a pussy, and according to one version, or shut up, or according to another, and to mind his own business. The two got face to face and they started exchanging words, with one version saying they were shouting at each other the whole time. Then he goes on to say Lesnar pushed Jericho with his fingers, and Jericho did what was described as a Rousey Tate forehead press. One version also had Jericho shoving Lesnar to the wall at one point. Then it continues on. Let me just go here. They got tangled up against the wall, and Lesnar told Jericho to punch him or kiss him. And then Triple H jumped in quickly and broke it up. There was a heated exchange, enough that when they went to the back, Vince McMahon had to break it up again. Jericho started yelling about Lesnar, and McMahon told Jericho that it was all a work and to be professional. Now, Triple H reportedly told McMahon that Lesnar was the one that started it all, and that Jericho was standing up for himself, but there were more words exchanged. Now, Jericho ended up seeing Orton and got mad, which everyone noted was because he was concerned about Orton's health and safety. Now, Orton reportedly assured him that he knew the way everything was coming. So, according to this, whoever told Dave Meltzer this, obviously was in a position to see what was going on. And that was how it was supposed to end. Maybe it wasn't supposed to be so bloody because they're in the PG era and they don't want a lot of blood. And as far as I know, it's a no-no to bleed that much. Sometimes you can't help it. But, like I said, Brock gave him a couple solid elbows. Like, Jesus, it was like watching him do a ground and pound in the UFC. Now, so we'll find out what's going on. So well, maybe Brock is serving his 30 days and this is his way of being off TV. Who knows? They're not going to formally announce that he's got a 30-day suspension because they're just trying to keep that. I think they're just trying to keep that all under wraps. And this right now gives it a storyline to why he isn't on TV. He F5'd the McMahon son. So he's been suspended or he's not going to be on TV for a while. I don't know. There's just too many variables. There's too many different sources. I know Dave Meltzer is one of the more trusted sources in wrestling, with the being inside wrestling. But I'm not 100% sure what is what. I hope I got his website right. I don't know if it's the Wrestling Observer or what it's called. If it's not, then I apologize. But anyways, it's Dave Meltzer is the guy. And if you're new to wrestling and you don't know Dave Meltzer, go look him up. Now let's turn to the Seth Rollins turnbuckle bomb issue. Now, I'm going back a long time. Now, D'Lo Brown back in the day had the running power bomb, and he injured Draws. Now, for quite a long time, running power bombs were no-no. Now, people are still doing power bombs, but they're not running across the ring and doing them. They're kind of standing people up, spinning around and dropping. So that's a different version of it. You're not running where you could possibly lose your grip on somebody as they're coming down. Now, the pile driver I know has been gone since probably 2000. So the only people allowed to do that, a type of pile driver is the tombstone pile driver. And my understanding is Undertaker and Kane are the only ones allowed to do it unless they have special permission. So let's go into Rollins. Now, in the past, I think, year, now, not blaming Rollins, and I'm not saying he's a bad wrestler or people should be scared to get in the ring with him or that he's a hazard, but look at the track record. He broke John Cena's nose. Now, I'm going to say that before I said that, I should just back up a bit. Seth Rollins wrestles a very fast and aggressive style. He's a younger guy, he's fast, and he's just got a different style. So now he's wrestling John Cena, and you know what? John can be clumsy in the ring. took a knee to the nose. You know, I think Rollins took responsibility for that. But man, Cena's nose was busted 5 days to Sunday. But anyway, the guy's tough as nails because he finished the match, put some tissue up or some cotton ball up his nose and finished the match. Now, and then we've got the Sting, the power bomb, turnbuckle power bomb. Now, he took 2 of those in that match with Seth Rollins, and he said after the first one that he couldn't, he was starting to get tingling in his fingers, and the second one he got tingling in his lower back. Now, I watched Legends with JBL, and Sting takes full responsibility for what happened. Okay, well, you landed properly. I don't know what happened. It's not like what happened with Finn Balor. It's completely different. So anyways, we'll go to Finn Balor at SummerSlam. Now, if you heard my SummerSlam review, Dead on Dave on his YouTube channel, he was talking about it, and he does have a point that Finn Balor did turn his head to the right and was looking for where he was landing, so he was kind of out of position a bit. But regardless, he still hit that shoulder so hard that it popped out. And anybody who's watched the match, he actually pops his shoulder back in. You can see it's up probably about 2 or 3 inches too high, and he pops it back in. Tough guy. But anyhow, so there's that. And then, Rollins hurt himself wrestling Kane overseas. He busted his knee. So is he a hazard? I don't think he's a hazard. I think that if a move is injuring people way too much, you've got to take into consideration the safety of the wrestlers. It doesn't have anything to do with the way Seth executes it. It could be it's just one of those things, one of those moves that hurts people on occasion. Yeah, and it sucks when they ban your wrestlers, your favorite. If Seth's your favorite wrestler, you don't want to see them ban the turnbuckle power bomb. But at the same point, I think the wrestlers are thinking, geez, you know what? 2 people have been injured with this thing, and they all blame themselves. But in the end, it doesn't matter who they blame. You're thinking in the back of your head that I can get hurt doing this. And if they're going to think that, then it's probably best just not to do it that often, or maybe just do it in certain spots and practice it with the guy. It's almost like the Finn Balor one wasn't practiced. So you guys got to do, I imagine they've got to practice it, or did they just talk about what they were going to do before the match? I don't know. I'm not a professional wrestler, never have been. I don't act like I know what's going on. But you look at a lot of these moves, a lot of the moves they do these days are high risk, and even the basic body slam can injure a guy if you land the wrong way. But, it's these moves that are a little more aggressive and more powerful that are injuring the guys. And yes, getting thrown you're not seeing where you're landing quite. You're guesstimating you're being thrown into the right spot. I think if they got rid of that move, I wouldn't be too upset about it. That's just my personal opinion. Now, let's go into Bret Hart has been very vocal about Seth Rollins injuring people. I'm just going to read you what Bret Hart's statement he has issued. And he says, I take no great pleasure in saying, I told you so. But if you're a professional wrestler and you keep hurting opponents and or yourself, clearly you're doing it wrong. I wrestled a very realistic and physical style, and not once in 23 years did I ever hurt one opponent ever. Seth Rollins needs to improve his technique and become the safest wrestler in the business. I have great respect for Seth. I believe he'll improve and hopefully stop hurting the talent before someone gets killed. Wrestlers have to trust one another. If a wrestler holds the life of another wrestler in his hands for the sake of his family, wife, or children, you plain and simply cannot drop it. Now, I agree with what he says to an extent, but I think singling out Rollins as being a guy that injures everybody, it's just a bad... I think what's happened is it's just been some bad luck with him. He's been the guy that's been in the ring with these guys, and they've gotten injured. Do injuries happen? Yeah, they happen, but people are going to... I can see Bret's point, but at the same point, I don't agree that Seth Rollins is a danger to the other wrestlers. I think the turnbuckle powerbomb is, you can do without it. You can do something else. And as you saw with the Finn Balor and Seth Rollins match, those guys pulled out some moves that I had never seen out of their arsenal yet. So it was pretty cool. get away from the turnbuckle powerbomb and just use it in certain spots with certain people that can maybe handle it, or bigger opponents that are strong enough that can handle a back shot that they can't see coming. That's just my personal opinion. Now, Brett has been critical of Rollins before, and he was vocal about when Sting and Cena got injured. Rollins has fired back at Brett before, saying he's very disappointed that Brett would say these kinds of things. And Brett has, reiterated, it's not a personal attack. It's just I have concern. Bret Hart has also had concern about Samoa Joe's finisher when apparently Tyson Kidd got injured really badly a few years back. I never saw it. I don't know much about it. But anyhow, that is all I really have for today. I just wanted to touch on those things, the Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton debacle that was SummerSlam, and talk about Seth Rollins. So, if you enjoyed, please follow me on SoundCloud or follow me on YouTube. Just look up the Power Podcast. Or if you're on Twitter, look me up at GlennPower72. I'm always up for chatting about wrestling, so hit me up anytime. So until next time, take care.